Our other big story tonight, explosive new details in the case against Casey Anthony. And we've learned why the meter reader who found Kaylee's remains was in those woods. We have live team coverage tonight. Mike DeForest is at the medical examiner's office where we've learned about tests performed on Kaylee and Kaylee's remains. And we begin with Lewis Bolden in the woods where she was found. Lewis, what was Roy Kronk doing there?
Well, Roy Kronk was working in this area, and frankly, nature called, and so he ventured into this wooded area, and while he was back there, he was vigilant because of something Casey Anthony said. In an interview that was just released, Roy Kronk told detectives back in January why he paid close attention when working in an area around the Anthony's home. It was because of a statement that Casey made to her family members.
You think Kaylee's okay right now?
In my gut, she's still okay. And it still feels like she's close to home.
That's what Casey Anthony told her brother Lee in July of last year. It was a telephone call that Casey made to her family members while she was behind bars shortly after her first arrest. And it was a statement Roy Kronk took seriously. In a just-released interview, Kronk told detectives, quote, "My theory, well, real simple, was that she kept saying she was close." Kronk says that's why when he was working in the area on Suburban Drive in August, he kept his eyes peeled and eventually reported that he saw something that looked out of place.
Back in August of this year, I had previously reported to Crime Line and to the Sheriff's Communication Center that I had spotted something suspicious.
Kronk called the Sheriff's Department August 11th, 12th, and 13th and called 4 months later on December 11th. That's when Kaylee's remains were finally found. Kronk says, "It just made sense to me that if you were going to get rid of something like that, well, you would put it in a place where you knew there would be very little traffic whatsoever." Now, the Orange County Sheriff's Office believes the deputy who came out in August did not properly investigate the tip. Reporting live, I'm Lewis Bolden, Local 6.
Lewis, it's been months since Kaylee's body was discovered, and it appears that memorial is growing.
Well, you know, Mike, it really does. All these months later, you can still see all of the stuffed animals that are out here, and I can tell you even today, probably half a dozen people have stopped by here just to take pictures. Mike?
Right. Thank you, Lewis, for that live report. Well, Kaylee Anthony's remains were tested for drugs.
And these tests were very specific. For that part of the story, we want to turn to Local 6 reporter Mike DeForest. Now, Mike, what exactly were they testing for?
Well, the medical examiner here was able to recover some of Kaylee's hair. That was sent off to the FBI lab to look for any type of substance that may have been used to kill the child, including potentially some prescription drugs that belong to the grandparents. Even though investigators found high levels of chloroform in the trunk of Casey Anthony's car, they still do not know whether the chemical was used to kill Kaylee. When the FBI lab analyzed the deceased toddler's hair looking for foreign chemicals, they did not bother checking for chloroform, saying that such tests would not prove anything. However, Orange County medical examiner Dr. Jan Garavaglia asked the FBI lab to check the hair strands for two specific drugs, Xanax and clonazepam. Some have speculated that the name of Kaylee's mysterious babysitter, Zanny, may have been a code word for Xanax. And we know some of Casey's friends may have had access to the drug. But scientists were unable to find evidence of Xanax in Kaylee's hair. Likewise, the lab also found no traces of the anti-anxiety drug clonazepam. Why was the medical examiner so interested in that? We don't know for sure, but the lab did test for the exact same prescription medications that detectives found inside George and Cindy's bathroom. Even though none of those drugs, nor any others, were found in Kaylee's hair, scientists say it is still possible the toddler had been exposed to small amounts of the chemicals. They just cannot prove it. The medical examiner is still waiting for toxicology tests that were conducted on other parts of Kaylee's body, try to find out possibly if there were other chemicals in her system. Now, the medical examiner says she does not believe at all that those toxicology results will help her conclude what the cause of death was, but it could certainly shed light on what may have happened to little Kaylee. Reporting live at the medical examiner's office, Mike DeForest, Local 6.
All right, Mike, let's take a moment to clarify something. What is this about scientists conducting an autopsy on a rattlesnake?
On a rattlesnake, yes. Back when that meter reader first ventured into the woods back in August, he and his coworkers came across a dead 4.5-foot diamondback rattlesnake. One of the coworkers, unbelievably, took that dead rattlesnake home and put it in his freezer. Detectives later seized that rattlesnake. Scientists conducted an autopsy trying to find out whether possibly maybe that rattlesnake had swallowed some evidence out in those woods. They determined no, there was no evidence in the snake, but it is kind of ironic that detectives now know what killed that snake. It was run over by a car, but the medical examiner here still doesn't know Kaylee's cause of death. Jackie?
All right, that infamous snake. Mike, thank you. We're also learning more about Orange County Deputy Kane in those new documents.
What happened after the sheriff's office started investigating Kane's actions and questioning whether he failed to search for Kaylee's body? New revelations on Deputy Kane coming up all new at 6. For even more on the new documents in the case against Casey, you can go to clickorlando.com.